Sharon? Sharon! What's that? I don't know. Let's get out of here.
Hello and welcome to the first episode in our series on Have You Experienced This? My name is Sean, and I will be your guide as we enter the murky world of higher level ghosts or negative energies. Today we will share with you a unique and bizarre phenomenon which defies all physical laws, a supernatural phenomenon that stems from the deep recesses of the dark side of the spiritual dimension. In this part of our series on how negative energies can attack us, we will show you how they can create bloodstains and attack us through it. For over 20 years, the Spiritual Science Research Foundation has been researching various aspects of the spiritual dimension with the help of advanced sixth sense. We have also used biofeedback machines to demonstrate the effect of the spiritual dimension. We spread the knowledge gained through our findings to help society understand how the spiritual dimension affects every aspect of our lives on a daily basis, right from the clothes that we wear, the music that we listen to, and the problems that we have. Now, a large part of our research also involves how negative energies or ghosts affect humanity and possess people, and most of the time, without their knowing it. As a result, the research center and the people associated with it are also heavily attacked by higher level negative energies in various ways. The seekers associated with SSRF themselves have been attacked at a physical level. Some of the physical problems include rashes, lack of energy, heart problems, paralysis, blindness, bloodstains appearing out of nowhere, spontaneous burning of deities and saints' pictures, and scratches on the wall. At a psychological level, seekers have been possessed and their thoughts manipulated by these higher level negative energies so as to get them into a severe depression. And this has resulted in a number of obstacles in their serving the spread of this knowledge. In spite of all of this, the seekers of SSRF, through the grace of God, have only become more resolute with their spiritual practice and their service to spreading spirituality and helping mankind understand this dimension. The case we are about to show you is an example of unexplained wet bloodstains with no evidence of marks or wounds, nosebleeds, or any other rational explanation. You will find that this documentary will differ from other documentaries on the paranormal. This is because through advanced sixth sense, seekers in SSRF are able to give us information about how and why these phenomena take place and what actually happens backstage in the spiritual dimension. Dr. Pramod Gole is a senior executive in a large government bank in Chandigarh in India. He has been doing spiritual practice under the guidance of the Spiritual Science Research Foundation for many years now.
To pay gratitude to the Guru principle, seekers of spiritual growth celebrate Guru Purnima. Last year, seekers of our center also decided to celebrate Guru Purnima. I was the main organizer. Guru Purnima was on the 18th of July, and a week before, on the 11th of July, the preparations were going on in full swing, and I had other tasks pending.
Pramod gets up a bit preoccupied. He has a long day ahead of him. He has to pay his daughter's fees and attend some very important meetings in the office. In the evening, he has to attend a meeting for the organization of the Guru Purnima celebrations. After putting out his towel to dry, Pramod goes in to pick up his shirt and then begins to get ready for the day. Pramod's wife Sangeeta is helping to get her husband and daughter ready for the day.
खाली फ्रीजच्या बाजूला डबा ठेवलाय तो घेऊन चल.
हां बरं. अगं मी आज संध्याकाळी 6:30 वाजता येईन. 7 वाजता गुरुपौर्णिमेची बैठक.
When Sangeeta goes to the bathroom, something on the floor catches her eye. As she takes a closer look, she realizes that it's blood. Sangeeta is concerned and wonders if her husband has cut himself. Concerned, she comes out of the bathroom to ask Pramod. And then, something else catches her eye in the balcony. The towel that Pramod was using also has blood stains on its sides.
I saw that there were 2 blood stains on the floor. I was astonished and wondered where they had come from. When I came out of the bathroom, I once again saw blood stains on the towel that he had used. At this point, I was scared.
Meanwhile, Pramod is having breakfast with his daughter and is oblivious about the bloodstains that his wife has just seen in the bathroom and in the balcony.
कॉलेजमधनं लवकर येणार ना आज?
हो लवकर.
का मैत्रिणींकडे वगैरे जाणार?
तुम्ही इथे घरात नाही तर मी मैत्रिणीकडे जाऊन येणार आहे.
बरं. आईला सांगून जा.
हो सांगते.
A very concerned Sangeeta hurries down to check with her husband.
अहो तुम्हाला कुठे जखम वगैरे झाली आहे का? रक्ताचे डाग पडलेत बाथरूममध्ये.
नाही तसं काय नाही. प्राजक्ताचा लवकर आवर. उशीर झाला आपल्याला.
Pramod is running late and doesn't pay too much of attention to his wife's concerns. While Sangeeta feigns a smile while waving out to Pramod and her daughter Prajakta, she is deeply concerned and can't get the bloodstains out of her mind. Prajakta accompanies her father to the college to pay her fees. Pramod has a lot of things on his mind. It is a busy day at work, and there are many things to be done for the Guru Purnima celebrations that he is organizing. On the way, his thoughts go to what his wife said about having cut himself.
अहो तुम्हाला कुठे जखम वगैरे झाली आहे का? रक्ताचे डाग पडलेत बाथरूममध्ये.
He looks out for any cuts from his shaving in the car rearview mirror, but finds none. When at the college campus, Pramod takes no more than 15 to 20 minutes to pay his daughter's fees. Pramod is grateful that there is no queue at the college office and he is able to pay his daughter's fees without a wait. On the way to the office, Pramod drops off his daughter at home. The house is only a kilometer from the office. A few minutes later, Pramod arrives at the office. It will take Pramod approximately 5 minutes to get to his office. And little does he know that one of the most bizarre events in his life is about to happen.
Good morning, sir.
After switching on his computer, Pramod already feels tired. He reclines back in his office armchair while he takes a moment to catch his breath and to reflect upon the day ahead. Pramod is surprised and fearful at what he sees on his pant. His first thought is that a case of piles that he had over 10 years ago has reoccurred. He is stressed and goes into damage control. He immediately calls up his secretary.
Shilpa, something has come up. Can you please cancel all my appointments in the morning? Yes, please.
माझं सहज लक्ष
Unknowingly, my attention went to my pants. I was astonished to see that the front side of my pant was totally wet. Although I was feeling no pain, but when I saw the blood, I was shocked. I called up home and asked them to send me a change of pants.
आणि मला पॅन्ट पाठवायला सांगितली.
हां संगीता, हां ऐक, माझा एक शर्ट आणि पॅन्ट जरा पाठवून दे. मी ड्रायव्हरला पाठवतो. हो हो, ते नंतर सांगतो तुला. का ते नंतर सांगतो.
There are a number of thoughts going through Pramod's mind while he waits for his clothes. When he initially saw the blood, it was semi-dried. When did this happen? Did it happen in the car or while walking to the office? If it were piles, how come he did not feel anything? When he did have piles 10 years ago, there would be a lot of pain and the bleeding would only happen while defecating. It just did not make sense to Pramod. How can one pass so much of blood and not feel anything? As he was changing, Pramod gets even more perplexed.
ती पॅन्ट ज्यावेळी मी
When I was changing the pants, I noticed that the front part of it was more stained. The second surprising thing was that the underwear was not at all wet. If the blood did come from my body, then the underwear should have been wet. That also really surprised me.
आश्चर्य वाटलं.
नमस्कार. हां, मी सौ अंजली गाडगीळ यांच्याशी बोलू शकेन का?
That evening, Pramod calls the main research center of the Spiritual Science Research Foundation. He speaks to Mrs. Anjali Gadgil from the subtle department and tells her of the bizarre incident in the morning. The subtle department is responsible for all investigations using advanced sixth sense. After taking a sixth sense reading of the event, Anjali confirms Pramod's suspicions that it was because of higher level negative energies.
तसंच मी
Also, from the college, I went directly to the office, so there was no chance of blood coming from some external
काही
source.
शक्यता नव्हती.
We called his daughter, Prajakta, who was in the car with him right before he entered his office.
See, I was there with Papa till the very end of our car trip that morning. And I did not see anything of the kind. When he came back from office and showed us the pant, the stain was pretty large, you know. Thinking back, I feel I would have definitely noticed it if it had happened during my trip with him.
Later, when Pramod checked his car seats for any stains, he found none. When Pramod first saw the stain, it was semi-dried, so it must have happened sometime in the 5 minutes between getting out of the car and getting into his office. So could this have had a medical cause? Could the blood have actually come from Pramod? Well, the first step we took was to ask a forensic specialist to decipher what was the blood type of the stain on the pant. Pramod's blood type is AB positive.
Well, the first step in forensic testing was to discover the origin of the stain, whether it's just some chemical or is it actually blood. And if it is blood, whether it's human. After running a test known as the crossover electrophoresis, the blood origin did come out to be human. Now, in the next stage, we try and ascertain the blood group. In the case of the pant, we found that the blood group was AB positive.
So the blood type did match, but was the blood from Pramod? Could this have been a case of piles reoccurring? We asked Pramod to go for a medical checkup to check the status of the piles. We also got our own panel of doctors to check Pramod. The results showed that the external piles and the small fissures were still present. But for the last 10 years, he is asymptomatic without any problems. The blood reports too were normal. But this time around, everything was different. Now 10 years ago, when Pramod suffered from piles, he would bleed through his anus, but it would only happen when passing stools. There was no history of blood staining clothes. And secondly, it would be accompanied by excruciating pain. And lastly, it would only stop with medication. That day, Pramod did not have any constipation, nor did he pass hard stools. Is it possible that in this case of piles, the symptoms would be completely different?
Well, yes. In many cases of piles, the symptoms may be different. Clinically, there may be small fissures and piles, but they rarely are a cause for this type of bleeding.
But there are still 3 points that we need to consider. Pramod's underwear is not stained. The second, the stain is more towards the front side of the pant as opposed to the back side. And third, Pramod does not feel any sensation in spite of the amount of blood discharged. Now, is it possible for someone who is fully conscious to bleed like this and have no clue about it?
In my medical career, personally, I have not come across a patient who has bled this quantity of blood without even realizing it. So let us look at the medical reasons why the stains could have occurred. First, it could be some bleeding disorder. Personally, I have been through all his blood reports and they are all within normal limits. So this reason is ruled out. It could be due to some local infection that has also been ruled out. So the only possibility I can think of is a surgical injury. I inquired from Dr. Ghole whether he had any surgical injury, and he gives me a history that he had no such injury from the time he got out of his car and reached his office. Anyway, this whole discussion is pointless since Dr. Ghole himself said that he had no stains on his underwear. So I have to conclude by saying that the source of this has to be external. To the best of my knowledge, I cannot explain this medically.
There is another aspect that needs to be considered. If the blood had come from Pramod as a result of piles and him wiping himself, it would not have been limited to just the side of the towel. Now, if this is something that cannot be explained by modern science, can it be explained by spiritual science using one's sixth sense? For this, we took the help of the SSRF subtle department, who deal in investigating such kind of events with their advanced sixth sense. They do so as part of their spiritual practice, so as to educate society on how the spiritual dimension can affect our lives. In the first part of the investigation, Yoya, a seeker with advanced sixth sense of vision, is asked to give her reading. Yoya, a former model from Paris, is both hearing and speech impaired, but is gifted with the ability to see an event visually in the subtle. If we were to take a theatre drama as an analogy, an average person would be able to see everything that was on stage. Yoya, on the other hand, through her sixth sense of vision and through spiritual practice, is able to perceive what happens backstage too. Seekers like Yoya provide us with a glimpse into the supernatural spiritual dimension, a dimension which most of us can't see. This is the dimension where people go after they die. Yoya starts with a prayer to God to help us see accurately what transpired in Pramod's bizarre incident. She prays to God that no other negative energies manipulates what she sees. Yoya now begins to concentrate on the pant. She begins to transcend time and go back to the event, which happened almost a year ago, in a city many thousands of miles away. She begins to get flashes and insights into what really happened, and she begins to draw what she sees. After a discussion with Janvi, a seeker from SSRF's art department, both Yoya and Janvi go to meet His Holiness Dr. Athavale. Every drawing of Yoya is checked by His Holiness Dr. Athavale, the source of inspiration to SSRF and who guides all research at SSRF. His Holiness Dr. Athavale studies the drawings and then, using his highly advanced sixth sense, taps into the universal mind and intellect to verify the drawing. The universal mind and intellect is a synonym for God's mind and intellect. All subtle drawings graded by His Holiness Dr. Athavale are on a scale from 1 to 10, and scores below 4 just don't cut it and are never published, as there's not enough truth in the drawing. However, for this drawing, a score of 8 has been given. The attacking entity was a male mantrik, which is a higher level negative energy from the 4th region of hell. He had a thin frame and could switch between male and female forms. He moved like the wind, spreading black energy wherever he went. The main reason he had targeted Pramod was to scare and deter him from his spiritual practice. The mantrik has the supernatural capability of transferring blood from one place to another. And then, in a subtle form, he slips through Pramod, dropping the blood into his pant. Before we proceed any further, I would like to spend a bit of time on taking you through a few concepts which will help in understanding how this phenomenon happens. The first is, what are negative energies? At the Spiritual Science Research Foundation, we use the term negative energies as a collective noun to represent all types of entities in the spiritual dimension that intend to harm humanity. You may know this term more popularly as ghosts. However, ghosts are of much lower strength. At the Spiritual Science Research Foundation, we have been attacked by the highest category of negative energies, known as mantriks. Now, if the spiritual strength of a common ghost is between 1 to 10 units, then a mantrik strength ranges from 1 billion close to infinity. The primary weapon used by negative energies is black energy, which is basically a spiritual energy capable of manipulating any process on the earth plane. The extent of this manipulation depends on the strength of the attacking negative energy. The second concept is the absolute cosmic elements. All of creation is made up of subtle building blocks that we cannot see. These building blocks are known as the absolute cosmic elements. The absolute cosmic elements in their grossest form manifest on earth. They are the absolute earth element, which manifests as the ground that we walk on. The absolute water element, which manifests as the seas and the lakes. The absolute fire element, which manifests as the fire that we see on earth, the volcanoes, the flame on your gas range. And then we have the absolute air element, which manifests as the air that we breathe and is vital to sustaining life. And finally, the absolute ether element, which refers to the vacuum that we have in space. Higher level negative energies do years of certain types of spiritual practice to gain full or partial control over one of these elements. Once they gain the required control, they are able to manifest and manipulate various events on the earth plane. The third concept: who is a seeker? A seeker is a person who makes honest and sincere efforts on a daily basis to grow spiritually. A seeker's spiritual practice would intuitively conform to the 6 basic laws of spiritual practice that have been explained in detail on our website. This person would have an intense desire for spiritual growth. Having an intense desire for spiritual growth, a seeker on a regular basis strives to improve upon his spiritual practice both quantitatively and qualitatively. And the last concept is about a subtle battle that is currently being fought. From the year 1999 to the year 2023, the world will see a tremendous change. Unknown to most, the world is in the midst of a gigantic battle between the subtle forces of good and evil. Over the next few years, some part of this battle will spill over onto the earth in the form of the Third World War. Organizations such as SSRF are also attacked as they help to demystify the spiritual dimension and help society to make spiritual progress as per the 6 basic principles of spiritual practice. Let's now take a closer look at the spiritual science behind the phenomena of blood stains appearing due to negative energies. Sonal Joshi is a healer and a key member of SSRF's subtle department. Part of her duties at the SSRF Research Center is to help and heal other seekers so that negative energies don't become an obstacle in their spiritual practice. We caught up with her to understand a little more about this phenomena.
The primary objective of a mantrik doing such a thing is just to scare the seeker and take him away from his spiritual practice. The thing is that blood stains appearing spontaneously are a pretty rare phenomena. This is because only a mantrik from at least the 4th region of hell has the power to create something like this. You have to understand that mantriks are on top of the hierarchy as far as negative energies are concerned. The only thing that comes under their radar are spiritual organizations and the seekers associated with them, where a lot of work is happening towards spreading of dharma or righteousness. Mantriks never waste their time and energy on an average person.
So, Sonal, apart from scaring a seeker, is there any other effect?
See, when they create a blood stain, they also infest it with black energy. This black energy creates a subtle, intangible cloud in the surrounding area. The effect of this cloud has been known to induce various obstacles for a seeker, such as extreme drowsiness, lethargy, heaviness in the head, doubts about his own spiritual practice. So finally what happens is the seeker's spiritual practice slows down.
We did some research on the net and we did find that there are other people who have been affected by this phenomena, but they've not been doing spiritual practice.
See, if an average person has been attacked through the medium of blood stains appearing spontaneously, it is mostly due to black magic being done on him.
So Sonal, our viewers must be wondering, how does a mantrik create blood out of just thin air?
In most cases, they do not create blood, but what they actually do is dematerialize and materialize blood. So what they do is look out for places such as accident sites or hospitals or a dead animal where there is blood, and then they transport it by just dematerializing and materializing from one place to another.
Sonal, what exactly happened in Dr. Gole's case?
In Dr. Gole's case, even though the blood group of the stain matched his blood group, through sixth sense we found out that the blood did not come from him but from some other place. Sometimes a mantrik does choose to create a blood stain, and this happens by using the absolute cosmic water element. However, with this method and by creating something from scratch, a lot of his spiritual energy is used up. So that is why mainly they prefer the transportation method.
Sonal, there are probably people out there and people who are watching this who have had weird phenomena in their lives, probably because of black magic or negative energies. What would your advice be to them?
Spiritual practice. The only sure protection against such negative elements in the spiritual dimension is spiritual practice. I encourage everyone to go to the SSRF website, where we have a separate section known as Start Your Spiritual Journey. There, a clear structure on how to go about one's spiritual practice is given, and also how to protect oneself from the dark side of the spiritual dimension.
Pramod's case is just one of hundreds of cases that have been documented at the SSRF Research Center. Now I'd like to show you something. You're currently here with me at the SSRF warehouse, and as you can see, all these boxes behind me, each and every one contains items that have been attacked by negative energies. But there are only a small percentage of them. But they do contain all the items that have been attacked at a more spectacular level. As you can see, you have attacks on holy books, blood-stained clothes, burnt clothes, damaged utensils, clothes with holes automatically happening. I'd like to show you something. This is a box that contains burnt items. And as you can see out here, okay, this is a picture. This is a picture of Lord Shiva. You can see the picture. But look what's happened to it. The entire picture is kind of frothed up. And if I show you it on a side angle, you can see that. As you can see, each and every one of these items are spectacular in their own right. Pramod Gole's case was just one of them. Now, I must tell you that as we're standing out here, both the crew and I are facing a tremendous amount of subtle pressure, and that's primarily because of the immense amount of negative vibrations that keep emitting out of all these boxes. And basically it creates headaches, nausea. So while I keep this away, I want to show you another very extraordinary case that happened to Mrs. Anjali Gadgil. Another bizarre case was that of Anjali Gadgil, a seeker from the subtle department who receives knowledge about various aspects of the spiritual dimension.
This incident happened in March 2004 at the SSRF ashram while I was doing research on music with regards to its spiritual benefits and its use in fighting negative energies. I was reading some notes describing how musical notes can generate a certain type of energy which can be used as weapons against negative energies. As I was going through the notes, I noticed that there was a blood spot on the paper. I also saw that there was a piece of whitish flesh on the blood stain, which was about 1 to 1.5 centimeters long. There was some blood on the piece of flesh too. It was totally unexpected, and I was surprised because in the ashram there is no meat being cooked or served.
Making of this documentary has not been easy, and every member of the team has been attacked in some way or the other by negative energies. For example, the person who we requested to do forensic analysis experienced a lot of obstacles in doing this work for us.
As soon as I opened the parcel of stained clothes, I experienced a tremendous pressure in the house. I felt pressure on my chest. I started feeling nauseated, a vomity feeling. My head started to feel heavy, and I started experiencing this throbbing headache. When going to the lab on the same day to test the stains, I met with an accident on the highway on 2 consecutive days. I had the feeling of being hunted, as if the accidents were deliberate, like someone wanted me dead. This was just the beginning of the obstacles that I faced during the testing of the clothes. Now, just when I began to test the samples from SSRF, I was inundated with an unusually large amount of forensic testing. It was so strange whenever I tried testing the items sent by SSRF. The quantity, the density, the concentration of the chemicals just changed automatically, which never happened before. Many times the equipment used for testing, it would just stop for no reason. There were several quarrels in the office that week, and I was just dragged into them for no reason at all. When I mentioned to the SSRF that I was having many obstacles, they gave me a special protection name of God to chant. Only then did the distress begin to reduce.
The purpose of this documentary has been to educate society that such type of supernatural phenomena can occur every day, whether we know it or not. All of us are impacted by the negative side of the spiritual dimension. The only sure method of protection against this realm is by doing spiritual practice. The supernatural events that happened to SSRF are extraordinary, and we don't know of another organization that has been attacked so viciously and continuously to such an extent. The only way the seekers of SSRF have been protected is through their spiritual practice and the grace of God. In the years to come, before 2018, the human race will be challenged on all fronts by war and unprecedented natural disasters that will threaten its very existence. In these challenging times, we cannot underestimate the need for spiritual practice to give us both the strength and the direction for the way forward in this millennium. We urge everyone to start or persevere in their spiritual journey, a journey that needs to conform to the 6 basic principles of spiritual practice for spiritual growth to occur.